Nature keeps finding strange ways to solve the same problems: protection, survival, and survival against the odds.
In these 8 shorts, you'll see tiny defenses, clever nesting, moving schools, and storm-scale consequences. Drab stinkbugs sometimes leave their eggs wrapped in a pale fungal patch.
It looks like a tiny growth on a leaf. The eggs sit exposed on plant surfaces where parasitic wasps can find them.
The cluster is small, but it sits in open view.
That fungus is linked to protection around the eggs.
It adds a defensive layer where wasps try to reach. With that extra cover, wasps have a harder time succeeding.
More eggs stay intact long enough to hatch.
So a stinkbug egg cluster can share space with a fungus, a leaf, and a wasp threat.
On that single patch of green, survival gets very small.
Rock wrens build a ring of flat stones around their nests.
It looks like a tiny pavement on the ground.
The nest sits where moisture would be a problem.
Around it,
the bird places flat stones by the ground. Those stones form a pavement that helps water drain or stay away from the nest area. The ground around the nest becomes drier.
That drier space gives eggs and chicks a steadier place to rest.
A wet patch nearby matters less when the stones guide the water away. On bare ground, the bird has shaped a small dry zone with its bill and stones.
The nest sits inside that careful little pavement. Sulfur mollies can ripple through the water in tight waves.
The whole school seems to shift at once, almost like one moving body. These fish travel in a school, staying close together as birds watch from above. In open water, a lone fish is easier to notice than a shifting group. The wave pattern matters because birds can target predictable movement.
Rhythmic motion makes the school harder to single out cleanly. When the school keeps its rhythm, fewer fish stand out against the moving group. That lowers the chance of ending up in a bird's beak.
So the pattern is simple: move together, and the bird sees a shifting school instead of one easy target. The water keeps flashing with silver bodies and a passing shadow.
A male surveyor in Canada does not walk straight toward the female. He steps side to side in a zigzag dance. This is a courtship display, a mating behavior between two spiders. The female waits nearby while the male starts his approach. The path gets tighter with each move.
The male advances in ever-narrowing arcs, turning the zigzag into the signal itself.
As the arcs narrow, the display becomes more focused. The female remains the still center while the male keeps circling closer.
At this scale, a few careful steps carry the whole message. On a leaf, the zigzag dance is written in tiny feet and curved lines.
A tiny Abra equalis can feed a much larger starfish. The shell is almost hidden in the seabed. Abra equalis is a tiny bivalve, a clam with 2 shells. It lives low in the seabed, where a starfish can reach it. The starfish does not need a big meal to matter here. One small clam can be a major food source.
As the starfish feeds, the clam becomes part of a marine feeding relationship.
That link moves energy from the seabed into a larger body.
In the food web, a hidden clam can shape what a starfish eats. Here, a shell beside a starfish arm tells the story.
2 tropical cyclones crossed from the Atlantic Ocean into the Pacific.
That is the strange part of the 1996 season. The 1996 Pacific hurricane season included 2 cross-basin cases. On a weather map, the track line moves between ocean basins.
The key is survival.
A cyclone can stay organized long enough to cross over and reorganize in new water. Once it reaches the Pacific, the storm is no longer the same system and the same setting. The new basin changes its structure and path.
That makes the 1996 season notable in hurricane history.
A map, a track, and 2 oceans hold the record in plain view.
Mangroves stood between Cyclone Dana and the shore, and the storm hit them first.
A green wall met the water at the coast. That belt grows in shallow saltwater where land meets open sea.
Roots spread through the mud and hold the trees in place. As Cyclone Dana pushed in, the mangrove belt absorbed and slowed the surge. Trunks, roots, and tangled water broke the force into smaller moving pieces.
Behind that living barrier, less of the storm's push reached the land. The water still moved, but the edge of the coast took a gentler hit. For people near the shore, that means fewer waves, less pressure, and a safer line of ground behind the trees. The roots and trunks stay standing in the wet mud.
Quintana atrazona has not been seen in the wild since 2007 to 2008. For a critically endangered fish, that is a stark gap in the record.
This fish is known from its natural habitat, where field sightings are the basic proof of life.
Without them, observers lose the clearest sign that a wild population remains. The key issue is simple uncertainty.
No wild sighting since 2007 to 2008 means Quintana atrazona has not been confirmed in its natural habitat for years. That absence raises a conservation warning. If a species is not found where it belongs, its status becomes harder to judge and harder to protect. So the question is not only whether the fish exists somewhere, it is whether it still persists in the water, among the stones, in the habitat itself. If one of these stories changed how you think about nature, the rest will too. Subscribe for more fact-based wildlife stories, and tell us which adaptation surprised you most.